This is Punk Rock and Politics, and today is November 7th, 2017, and this is episode number 41. Let's do this.
These days are strange, it's true.
I would bomb the shit out of them.
If you think that punk rock doesn't mix with politics, you're wrong.
Welcome to Punk Rock and Politics. Today we'll be talking to bassist Andrew Wasson from the band Life Lessons about updates from the band, the Trump administration, and the current state of the Democratic Party. Then on Open Mic's Last Call, we'll talk about Hillary Clinton's victory fund and how Hillary Clinton stole the Democratic Party primaries. I guess I'm not a conspiracy theorist. It's actually proven with a contract. Wow. So let's get to the political mosh pit. But first, here's the news of the week.
Here's what's making news.
With all the complex issues in the world, it's good to know President Trump is fixing the most complex problems. And here's President Trump.
You go to department stores and they'll say Happy New Year and they'll say other things and it'll be red. They'll have it painted, but they don't say, well, guess what? We're saying Merry Christmas again.
Wow, I'm really reassured to know that he's focused on the important issues. And Attorney General and evil Keebler elf Jeff Sessions testified on Capitol Hill to the Senate Intelligence Committee. Here's a few clips.
So I want to ask you just point blank, why did you sign the letter recommending the firing of Director Comey when it violated your recusal?
It did not violate my recusal. It did not violate my recusal. That would be the answer to that. And the letter that I signed represented my views that had been formulated for some time.
Mr. Chairman, just if I can finish, that answer, in my view, doesn't pass the smell test. The president tweeted repeatedly about his anger at investigations into his associates in Russia. The day before you wrote your letter, he tweeted that the collusion story was a total hoax and asked, when will this taxpayer-funded charade end? I don't think your answer passes the smell test.
With 51 votes, the Senate passed a budget plan that would call for $1 trillion in cuts to Medicare and $5 trillion in cuts to the budget overall, and only one Republican opposed it. Here's Rand Paul.
This amendment is about the debt. We have a $20 trillion debt, and it's about whether we're serious about tackling that debt. The budget before us exceeds our own spending caps by $43 billion. Now, you'll be told that technically that's not so because we hide the money by sticking it in an account we call the Overseas Contingency Operations. Over the last 16 years, we've spent more than $1.7 trillion in this account, and we don't account for it. We don't budget for it. What I'm asking us to do is to be responsible, budget for this, stay within the caps that we have self-imposed on us, and actually act like we really believe in what we say, that the debt is a problem.
And in President Trump's war on opioids, he announces that there will be an immediate ban on the production of fentanyl here in America. Here's President Trump on that.
The U.S. Postal Service and the Department of Homeland Security are strengthening the inspection of packages coming into our country to hold back the flood of cheap and deadly fentanyl, a synthetic opioid manufactured in China and 50 times stronger than heroin. And in 2 weeks, I will be in China with President Xi, and I will mention this as a top priority.
George Papadopoulos, a former Trump staffer, is arrested for lying to the FBI under oath, and former campaign manager Paul Manafort has turned himself in to the FBI. More news on this as the story develops. Donna Brazile released a bombshell in her recent book stating that Hillary Clinton and the DNC signed a contract that essentially gave Hillary's campaign control of the DNC. More on the story at the end of the program. President Trump starts his 14-day trip to Asia, and hopefully he won't start World War III while he's over there. More news on that as it develops. On this day in rock history, November 7th, 2016, Canadian singer, songwriter, novelist, poet, and musical icon Leonard Cohen died at the age of 82, but his music will live on forever. Rest in peace, Leonard Cohen. And that's the news of the week. What's up, my fellow political junkies? You know, one of my favorite parts of doing the Punk Rock and Politics podcast is checking up on bands that have previously been on the podcast, who have either started a new tour, put out new music, or, have some sort of update. And today's band is back, and they have done all that and more in the past few months. Life Lessons is a post-pop punk band based out of Oklahoma. They recently put out a 5-song EP titled Best When in Motion off Triple Crown Records. Life Lessons is one of the most hard-working bands out there, and I was lucky enough to talk with bassist Andrew Wasson from the band right after they finished up their US tour. But before we get to the interview, let's check out one of their songs. Here's a live version of Say Pretend by Life Lessons.
Clothes and makeup, forget the good things for the sake of making me feel like I'm and lots of different from before that you expected more from me. You expect something more from me. You expect something more from me. Something that back when it was easy to fall asleep, when we find no place to run. I'm sorry to things you say, I know that you keep hanging up on me. You can drop back and say, we're talking all the lies you say. There's a big one right here. Let's see some stage shots, man. All that you say right there. We're talking out. We're talking up in my head. We're talking out. All that you say right there. We're talking out. We're talking out.
And that was Say Pretend, a live version by the band Life Lessons. And I have the bassist, Andrew, again on the political mosh pit. What's up, Andrew? And thanks for coming back.
Hey, thanks for having me back on.
Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, like, I've been following you guys on your Twitter account, both, you know, your personal and then the Life Lessons, the band page. And like a lot has been going on with Life Lessons since we last talked in March. So between you guys had a tour going on and then you had a new music release and you guys got signed to a new label. So what's up with the new label?
We signed to Triple Crown You Did This Records. It's like a imprint of Triple Crown.
Right.
We over the summer, and they put us in the studio for the new EP in June. It's been really great so far. No complaints. It's been a really good experience.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've noticed since you guys, I remember you did an announcement a while back. What was it? Probably 6 months ago or so since you got...
I think we signed in May.
Oh, so yeah, May. It was right after I had you on the podcast. And I was like, dude, that's so awesome, you know, because I really like your guys' music and I definitely think you guys are going to go somewhere. And then I saw you guys got signed. I'm like, dude, that's awesome. And then now you're like, you're getting big, you know, you guys are doing big shows and you're doing a huge tour. So how's the tour going? Or you just wrapped it up? You just got home, so it's finished. But how did it go?
Late last night, yeah. It was great. We had a lot of fun. It was definitely a new experience for us, for sure. Just playing, like, getting used to playing bigger shows like that regularly and stuff there was a bit of a learning curve, but it was great. Everybody on the tour was awesome. It was overall just like a really positive experience. Shows were great. Yeah, a lot happened. And I'm still kind of digesting it. But
you sound kind of tired, man. But yeah, you just I know you just got home from tour last night. So it's how long was it? Because it was quite a while.
Between the tour started in Maine with the Rise or Die full package thing. Got to Maine, and we did some like shows on the way up. So we actually left like September 1st and got home last night, which was like October 21st. So it was like 51 days.
And you guys were playing shows like almost every night on that tour, right?
Yeah. There were a few off days for drives and stuff. We did a couple off day shows like in Albuquerque and Jacksonville, which were cool. Mm-hmm. I think we ended up playing like 40 shows.
Yeah.
There.
Wow. Yeah, that's quite a stretch in that amount of time. And like you were saying, they were, I saw a lot of video and pictures. They're big crowds, like big shows. So what's the difference between playing larger venue shows with a bigger crowd versus the smaller clubs? You know, you were saying there's a learning curve. Kind of what does that entail?
It's just like, it's just an adjustment, I guess, to like, I mean, it's just like anything else. It's just like when you go out in front of 100 people versus like 400 people, it's just like, it's a little more daunting and a little more intimidating.
Yeah.
So like the first night of tour, we were terrified. Yeah, but you just kind of like eventually get used to it, and you kind of just have to, how do I put this? You have to like care about what you're doing, but also kind of just like not care and let loose and let yourself have fun and enjoy it.
Yeah, because at the end of the night, you know, if you do make a mistake here or there, you know, people in the crowd, they're not going to notice. They're rocking out and just going with the flow.
You just, I guess, have to try and just stay loose and keep, you know, a good mindset about it. But it is like, and you know, we were the opening band too, and like most of the people there definitely didn't know who we were.
Yeah.
So even that, you just kind of have to like, all right, well, we have to go out and win people over, and that's how this is going to go.
Yeah, it's all about going out and selling yourself, you know, selling the band.
Yeah, and you just have to just go out and play and have fun and you know, be as confident as you can in what you're doing, and hopefully that translates and hopefully people are into it. And
yeah, and how did you feel the reception was pretty good?
I felt like it was pretty good, yeah. Each night we'd, you know, talk to people afterward and be like, hey, we had no idea who you were, but we really enjoyed your set and we'll be listening. And that's really all we could have asked for was, you know, people gave us a chance. Which is great. I mean, a lot of the times, like, people wouldn't be there for, you know, us, for the opening band, which, you know, happens.
That definitely happens, yeah.
So the fact that people were, willing to get there early and give us a chance, even though they didn't have any clue who we were, was really cool. That's
yeah. Or they're just there, so happen to be there early, and then they're like, they hear it and they're like, wow, this is cool. I mean, you guys have solid music, and from what I've seen, all your videos, you guys have a really good stage performance.
Thank you.
Yeah, you guys, I mean, I'm still like, you got to come out here to Southern California. I think on your tour, I think the closest, I think you played in Mesa or Phoenix or something, I did think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Played San Diego and LA, and we did 2 shows at Chain Reaction in Anaheim.
When was this? Damn it, I totally missed that.
I'm not going to be able to tell you the date.
No. It's like all a jumble of things. But I'm going to have to go look back because, I was like, I thought I would have made it out there. But, yeah, I mean, that's really cool. You're able to go out, put out, all your music, and then you have new music, which we're going to be featuring here in a second. And it's titled The Best One in Motion, and you just released that, and that's like another smaller EP. So what are you guys have planned? Are you doing a full length, or are you just gonna kind of chill, or what's going forward?
We're gonna get to work on a full length really quick. Pretty much just like gonna dive right into writing it as soon as we can. Don't really have any idea what the timetable for like having that recorded and out will be yet, but we were, just getting home from tour and everything. We're excited to like get to work on playing, putting together some new stuff and working on new ideas.
Nice.
We were all kind of itching to get to work on something new.
Mm-hmm. So was a lot of the songs from this recent album, was it older stuff that you just didn't have a chance to record, or was it stuff that you just kind of wrote on the fly, or how did this album fit in? So we got home from tour with Home Safe in February, and then after that, it was pretty much diving right into writing the EP. Oh, so you just kind of busted this EP out then, huh?
We just dove in, yeah.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome, man,
But we all just like, the writing process was a little different. We all just like kind of got in the same room and just like worked on ideas. There were a lot of times we'd be like, oh, we kind of hate this, and then we'd go back and like listen to it later and be like, oh, maybe this was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we wrote 5 songs in 3 or 4 months and went into the studio.
Oh yeah, you got it all recorded.
Yeah,
nice.
So it kind of felt like there's a little bit of like a holdover from that too. It's kind of felt like we weren't quite done writing, so we're itching to get at it for the next thing.
Right.
But yeah, we just kind of banged it out, and we're pretty happy with it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it sounds really good. It's like of course my complaint. It's not enough. And that's why I'm super excited for you guys to go back and do the full length. But now with the 2 EPs, I feel like I can listen to both of them all the way through, and then you have a few other songs. So I at least have about 15 songs, so I'm good, on my playlist. So, but let's check out one of the new ones from the new album. The new EP, I suppose I should say. This is Attention to Detail by Life Lessons.
Memorize every detail of the skyline. I wanna remember this. Maybe I'm lacking confidence, but the problem isn't that. It's that I could be young forever. And when I see skies like these, I feel small and I feel weak. I thought with time came improvement. It still doesn't seem like I'm whole. Can't be again if it turns out I never was. Just give me something worth really remembering. Something to word up all the doubt in me. What I have should be enough, so why am I still breaking? I couldn't make this more obvious. Can't turn it off, so I best went in motion. Things seem gray, I refuse to get over it. We shouldn't have to accept how it happens just because it's what it is. It's what it is. And what I have should be enough. took a long time, too long, to become aware of what I thought of the world and what I thought of myself.
And that was Attention to Detail by Life Lessons. And I still have Andrew Wasson, the bassist from the band, here on the Punk Rock and Politics podcast. So let's get into the political mosh pit, Andrew.
All right.
Into the craziness, right? So like we were saying earlier, the last time you were on was quite a few months ago. It was early March. And so that back then the Trump presidency, it was just in its infancy, and we could kind of see who he was appointing, but we didn't really know what he was going to do. I mean, we had an idea, but now we've actually seen things happen. So what's your overall thoughts so far from, his presidency? He's been in office 9 months, I think.
Disclaimer here, because of tour and stuff, I haven't been as plugged as I normally am, but it's just crazy. It's something new every day, and it's stuff that we really haven't seen before from a president. So I feel like everything is kind of in uncharted territory as far as that goes, and it's been a pretty uneasy 9 months, just with everything going on, and as far as like world politics are concerned, and as far as domestic politics are concerned, it's just been wacky.
Yeah. So you said you haven't really been plugged in as much, but I'm sure you've checked your Facebook and Twitter feed. So what's some of the few things that have popped out or you have noticed that that's giving you like, what the hell?
Well, I mean, the situation with North Korea is pretty troubling.
Yeah.
It's one of those things I don't, really know that, I'm not convinced that nuclear war is imminent or anything like that, but being able to have confidence in your leadership in those kinds of situations is like really important. So just the amount of comfort that you can have when you feel like the people at the top are knowledgeable and know what they're doing and aren't going to react impulsively to problems is really important. And the fact that our current commander-in-chief fires off on Twitter, when it sets in, is not really that great for dealing with the nuclear situation. And, we've also talked about, or there's been stuff about, his aides and his administration trying to figure out how to keep, the nuclear football away from him, which is just...
Yeah. Well, that's, insane.
So that's pretty unsettling. I think most of the issues that you can see with the Trump administration is just like you're dealing with somebody who is just behaviorally just a complete wild card. Like,
well, did you hear what Senator Corker said about him? How he said it's basically like an adult daycare. That's the White House.
I think Bob Corker is maybe becoming my favorite Republican. I don't know.
I mean, he's still an extremist, but yeah, it's like it's just such a weird world that we're going.
Nebraska, or am I thinking of somebody else?
Oh, geez. Or Tennessee. I'm not sure, but he's definitely from like a southern state or something.
Okay. Yeah, I was seeing a different guy then. Yeah, it's just been wild. I think if anything, I'm comforted by the fact that the Republicans are kind of fractured and they can't seem to really get anything done legislatively.
Exactly. Yeah, there you go. Uh-huh.
That's really the only area I think in which I'm taking comfort. I mean, I know before the election, the big hot take was that, well, the Republican Party is like, this is the death knell of it, this is the end. The Tea Party has pushed it too far to the right, and now we're dealing with, lunatics.
Right. Uh-huh.
To lose this election, and it will be the end for the Republicans. And they won overwhelmingly, but we're starting to see, I mean, I guess we've been seeing it for 9 months and even before, if you want to talk about the Tea Party, but where that's the way they win elections is undermining their ability to govern.
Yes.
Which, at least in this case, I'm thankful for. We'll see what happens at the midterm.
It does kind of enable them. And it's interesting, though, that you say that, because it's Rand Paul was the only Republican that voted against the recent budget in the Senate. In this budget, it basically is $1 trillion in cuts to Medicare, and then $5 trillion in cuts over the next 10 years passed, and that was just passed in the Senate. And it was passed 51 to 48. And Rand Paul voted against it, I believe, and he said he voted against it because it didn't cut enough, basically, was his justification. And they also added more so the debt ceiling could go up. And then they're also going to raise military spending. So basically what it would do, and John McCain was saying, it doesn't raise military spending enough, So you have these fractions of the Republican Party where John McCain wants more spending for, military. Rand Paul wants to cut everything. So it's really interesting, but that's kind of the plan that they're laying out. So they're going to do cutting social Medicare and low income, food stamps and a lot of social services in order to be able to pay for more military. And it's really like kind of the classic Republican thing. It's really terrifying. This is the one thing, the tax plan and the budget is what I'm most worried about that they are going to actually be able to pass. Because the one thing pretty much all Republicans always can agree on is, tax cuts for the rich are great. And a Democrat actually tried to introduce an amendment that would say, okay, but in this tax plan that is coming up, that no one making under $250,000 will get a tax increase. That was one of the amendments, and the Republicans overwhelmingly, all of them voted that down. So it just kind of shows, well, no, we can have tax increases on people making under $250,000 a year, but people making over we need a tax increase on that.
Where priorities lie, cutting taxes, but when it gets right down to it, they're only cutting it for people who can actually contribute more than or contribute their fair share, to use the tagline. But that just shows you where the soul of the Republican Party is really. Yeah, it's astonishing that they're actually pushing this through, and but it definitely, because with the healthcare and the repealing Obamacare, they couldn't do it. They couldn't pass any of that, which I kind of knew they wouldn't be able to, because their party, like you said, is so fractured. They have this Tea Party base, and then now Steve Bannon is going around, and he's actually trying to go in and oust people, because we have that recent election, I believe it was in Alabama, it was against Luther Strange, and then I forgot who the other guy is, but Luther Strange, they're both far right, but Luther Strange was the establishment pick, and then Steve Bannon went in and they ended up the other contender won, and now it's going to go off to an election against a Democrat, which he's totally going to win. But it pushes that seat, which I think that was Jeff Sessions' old seat, pushes that seat even further to the right, which is just crazy. Because like you're saying, everyone we thought, this is the end of the Republican Party. But then now it's kind of like, there's no leadership from the Democrats. There's no counter voice. And it's just kind of like we're just getting pushed further and further to the right. I mean, do you see that at all? Yeah, I'm just kind of wondering what the Democrats' next big plan will be. It's just, I feel like, I'm sure, most of the Democratic Party is still shell-shocked from a year ago. I don't know. I think what my hope is that Stephen Bannon's crusade or whatever against the establishment Republicans just kind of backfires on the Republican Party, and they just won't be able to function as a governing body. Obama gave that speech the other day about just the using divisiveness as an electoral strategy doesn't really help you govern. Yes, but it wins elections, and that's what we're seeing is happening. But I don't know what kind of policy successes they'll at least have as far as legislation goes. Trump can do his, he can do executive orders and that all day, which is troubling. But as far as big legislative goals, a lot of people I think are asking, right, well, where is, what you promised? Which, from my perspective, is like, all right, well, he's people are kind of starting to see what they paid for. But on the other hand, it's, are these guys, going to continue the elections and further kind of erode, our system.
Yeah, and that's a big thing because the midterm elections typically favor Republicans for several reasons. Just because it's the seats that are up in the midterm elections are usually more in more red states, and then also more liberals and more Democrats go and vote during presidential elections, and then off-term elections is when more Republicans, conservatives, and elderly go and vote. So if it really in the 2018, if the Democrats can pull out and actually, upset and take the Senate, or at least take away a big chunk of the majority in the House, that would be great. But I just, at this point, I don't see the Democrats really even making a push trying to get a lot of these seats, which is kind of terrifying to me because they're just saying, oh, we're just gonna keep resisting Trump how we fought him in the 2016 election, because I don't know, because they're having Hillary out with the book, talking about what happened, and it's kind of like you have the old Democratic Party that kind of lost to Trump still out there trying to push the party. It's kind of like, what's going on? Like, where's the new blood?
There's probably, I guess they're trying to have to figure that out right now and figure out what they're going to do. I guess the mistake, or at least one of the mistakes from the election last year is thinking they were going to be able to ride the same coalition that elected Barack Obama to elect Hillary Clinton, and that just wasn't going to happen. Exactly. She wasn't the kind of candidate that Obama was, and he was just such a good candidate that a lot of the, I guess, more, I don't know if this is the right word, but like existential, things that the Democratic Party would have to deal with, they didn't have to confront with Obama because he was very charismatic. He was a great candidate and a great speaker, and
and he was the change candidate too. That's the thing.
Yeah. I was like, what are you going to do in 2020?
Well, right now, it really looks like they want to run Kamala Harris, she's a senator here in California, but, she's really, really in favor of Homeland Security, NSA, wiretapping, very pro, and also a very big war hawk. But, as far as civil liberties, she's all right. But it's kind of like she's great, but she's just kind of like another total corporate Dem, that says these things that sound great, but then at the end of the day, they kind of push legislation that it's like it's counterintuitive to what they're actually saying. So I really don't know where the Democratic Party is going.
It's just, I guess they have to decide, well, are we going to move further left in a Bernie Sanders-esque kind of candidate, or do you try and run a moderate to siphon off some of the Republican voters? It's like I'm sure a lot of hand wringing going on with the DNC right now.
And one thing they're really pushing out, because Keith Ellison's out, and a lot of the Bernie-crats who did win seats in the DNC are basically out now. So, it's pretty obvious that's the way they want to go, is like you said, the moderate corporate Dem to try to siphon off those white working voters, I suppose, in the middle.
They have to figure out some way to connect with them, I guess is the big thing. Because, here in Oklahoma, we have a lot of white working voters, but on at least a state and national level, Democrats don't, can't seem to connect with those groups of voters. These people will vote based on religion, and what we saw with Trump with immigration and you'd be a value voters or stuff like that, and
world free trade, and that was the big Bernie swing. Pretty much all those other issues, I don't know how the Democrats would even reach out to those voters, but the free traders, Bernie had a lot of the people who were anti-free trade, and
it's going to be interesting. I don't know what they're going to do or who they're going to run. I guess the hope really, or the focus now is just, the hope that Trump implodes. And I guess it can be hard to really get your act together when there's just so much going on in the administration that you have to react to, that I'm sure things are not as chaotic for the Democrats right now, but they're kind of doing everything the rest of the country is doing. Like, wait, what is going on now?
Yeah. And it is so much just stuff, like you were saying.
Yeah.
It's, you're on tour, and I mean, even me, like, I digest this and I do this, this is a hobby of mine, is to watch politics, and, you just digest it and see what's going on. And it's so much every day. It seems like something, it's a big news break. It's crazy.
And, I'm home today, finally, and have the day off, so I'm just, hanging out watching football, but, even that has been infected.
Yes, yeah. Dude, let's wrap this conversation up with the football thing really quick, because, I mean, this is huge. Trump got on, Win and called Colin Kaepernick a son of a bitch, and then the next Sunday, everyone started kneeling. So it's like, what are you doing, dude? Totally counterproductive.
Yeah, and now the NFL is like have their own internal conversations about what are we going to do with protesting players and protests and stuff. But what he did is he just turned, it was like the campaign all over again. He took what there's something, it's a peaceful protest. I think it's a very American patriotic thing to do.
Yeah,
what these guys are doing. I'm 100% okay with it. It's 100% within their rights, and it's an issue that needs to be talked about. Is police brutality and violence against Americans. But he turned the whole thing completely on, well, it's disrespecting the flag, and he played to that base that
love the flag, love the country, and don't want to disrespect the flag. Yeah.
And he played to that base.
Yeah.
Now it's something we're talking about it right now.
Exactly. And like, I'm so happy that you actually said it. You actually said they're kneeling because of police brutality. Then 90% of the conversations that I ever hear on this issue, they never even talk about police brutality. They're like, oh, Trump said this, they said this, it's disrespectful. It's like, dude, you're missing the whole point on why they're kneeling.
Yeah, it's completely hijacked the conversation from its...
Hijacked, But Trump's kind of a fucking genius in that way, that he knows how to do that. And he did that with the fake news tag. And he's done that countless of times with his stupid, little Marco, and how he tags people with their little tags. He's very good at hijacking and twisting things. And that's exactly what he did with this, the NFL kneelings thing. So... And like you said, they were having internal conversations, and Roger Goodell wanted Roger Goodell, the head of all the football, NFL, he wanted the owners to set a standard that said they have to, stand. They can't kneel or, anything. They have to stand and put their hand over their heart and do it, in a standard way. But the owners went and voted, and they actually voted to just keep it how it is now. So it's optional, whatever you want to do.
Players aren't going to budge on it either, because they don't want to look like they're selling out to the league.
Exactly. Well, what they should do is maybe we should just not play the national anthem before the games. I mean, why, maybe that's, and then if we just don't play it, or maybe don't have the players go out before the games.
I read something about that. It was just like, why don't we just reserve it for like special occasions or something, Then you just avoid that altogether. But even then, it's like, well, we're still not talking about what these guys are trying to get us to talk about, which is police brutality against African Americans. And then it feels like, well, we're even also just shoving this under the rug. So
that's true. That's a great point. Yeah, if you just stop doing it. Yeah.
I don't know what I mean, in a perfect world, the president would just shut up and let it happen and go away, but that's not going to happen either. So I don't really know if there's any way really to resolve it other than dealing with the underlying issue, but that's, something that will take time.
Yeah, and that's such police brutality is such a systemic, it's just such a big deal. I mean, we can't tackle that overnight or in a generation. This is going to take generations, multi-generations to fix, if it's even going to be fixed.
I was reading something this morning. It was like an opinion piece about the anthem protests, and it was talking about kind of like the tradition of black athletes protesting and how that leads to like societal change. So he went baking or the author, I'm not sure he or she or what the name was, but they were talking about everything from Jackie Robinson breaking the color line to the Black Panther or the Black Panther salute at the Olympics and stuff like that has always been. Sports figures have kind of pushed society to look at things differently. Just for they're being entertainers. There's a quote in there about how Martin Luther King said that Jackie Robinson made his job easier, which is pretty crazy to think about. But
yeah, and then
you
also have Muhammad Ali, who protested the Vietnam War.
Yeah, and we look back and celebrate these people now, but at the time they took a lot of heat for what they said. And
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I think they argue that Colin Kaepernick is the next in line of these guys, and I would agree with that. He's really, a year ago I didn't expect us to still be all talking about this, but because of what he did and what the other people he's inspired and the other players he's inspired, we're still talking about it, and it's still an issue that's being brought up. And I would say then his his protest has been a great success, even with Donald Trump and his friend.
Well, if anything, Trump's made the protests more powerful and made it, reach more people. Yeah. So it's kind of, like I was saying, it's counterproductive on Trump to go and put him on blast. And actually, a lot of this, if you look at it just from a sports perspective, too, if you break down Colin Kaepernick's, his record and his QB percentage is one of the highest for when he was actually playing. So, I mean, his record is great, and he's a great quarterback. So the fact that no one wanted to pick him up or sign him or have him play, that almost speaks volumes in and of itself right there.
I would agree with that, yeah. I think somebody should give him a chance. I'm obviously biased on that front, but
I've seen a meme going around about, because, Aaron Rodgers from Green Bay got hurt, so everyone's saying, oh, Green Bay should pick up Kaepernick, which I don't see that happening, but that would be pretty awesome.
Great.
Yeah.
I hope he makes it back. I know there's some sort of injunction against the NFL now for colluding to keep him out.
Yes, he's suing the league for that. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I don't know if that will help him get back on the field or not, but I think ultimately all this is more important than football anyway, and what he's done for his cause, and he backs up his talk too with his charitable work and stuff like that. So,
well, if nothing else, if he does win this lawsuit and if it sets some sort of precedent, then in the future, if there is another athlete like him, they can be protected under whatever law, this lawsuit, if it does pass and if it goes through and sets a precedent. So, like you said, it is bigger than football, or it's encompasses sports and it encompasses police brutality, and then the question of patriotism and when we should do that. I mean, so wow, it's huge. I mean, it's a really big issue and created so much conversation. So you're right. I think he's gonna go down in history as a pretty big figure, definitely.
There's just like so much going on with it too. It's the American flag and football and patriotism.
Yes.
It's such a big story because it's just like such a very American thing.
It's so American. It's like apple pie, 4th of July shit, But yeah, man, I'm glad you brought that up because that is a huge issue. So, but yeah, I had you on here for quite a while, man. But before I let you go, where's the best place for everyone to find Life Lessons music and for future tour dates and everything once you guys relax?
You can go to lifelessonsband.com. We have merch and music there. We have our EP out on vinyl, which is really cool. We've never done that before. You can order it.
Oh, the new one, right?
New one, yeah.
Nice.
We're on Spotify, Apple Music, all of those things, Facebook and Twitter. We'll be out for 3 days with real friends next month, doing some Midwestern dates. So if anybody is in St. Louis or Iowa City or Minneapolis, come see us play.
Cool. You guys are still playing. That's awesome.
Yeah, we're trying to get out.
Dude, that's good, man. That's good. You got to do as much as you can when you can. You guys are doing it, and congratulations, man. It's hopefully when I have you on, next time, in a year or so, you'll be playing in 10,000 people, or
that would be great.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, we got to have goals, so.
Right.
But yeah, hey, thanks so much for coming on the podcast again, Andrew.
Hey, thanks again for having me, man.
Yeah.
Really-
Oh, dude, always. And, we'll have to have you on again and recap once again. So here's another song. This is off the new album. The new EP. It's titled Best When in Motion. And this song is titled Bury It by Life Lessons.
It's too real for me to think so. I won't. It's too much for me, but I can't say I won't. Can't say I won't, but I can say that my elbow just blink at the best of times. It's never over. It's never over. It's never gonna erase from my mind. This is all it is. I can bury it with control. I dig deeper, I gain perspective. It could be worse. It should be better. Too late, I felt a shift in my faith. I don't recognize who this is with my face. It never felt like mine anyway. It's something I'd go to accept at my own pace. It could be worse. It could be worse. It should be better. It's only too late that I notice cracks in the frame. Cracks in the frame. What do you say when there's nothing worth saying anymore? When there's nothing worth the effort put forth. I have nothing left. I'm here but I'm spine. I notice when I see death. I know too well how I act. Like I'm already giving. I know the place that I'm coming from. It's too real for me to keep this up, so I won't. It's too real for me to think, so I won't. There's no way out. It's too much for me, so I can't say I won't. There's no way out. There's no way out. There's no way. It's too real for me to think, so I won't. Doesn't change how it's too much to me, so I can't say I won't. There's no way. I've lost so much that it makes sense to lose hope. Can't say I won't. Can't say I will go on. Hard to feel like it's worth it when things just like blood. Press the timing, effort, it all came to pressure now. It's all of it, it's everything. Maybe it's just me. It's all of it, it's everything.
All right, let's give it up for Andrew Wasson and Life Lessons. Their new EP is definitely pretty awesome. So stoked about that band. Every time I check in on them, there's always some new thing that they're doing, or they got signed and then they're putting out an EP, then they're on tour, and now they're putting out a full length. So I mean, dude, go get them, Life Lessons. And if you haven't heard that EP, if you liked what you heard, I would totally recommend checking out their last EP and then their this newest EP, Best When in Motion. Both of them are really, really good. So I'm definitely looking forward to their full length album. And yeah, and totally thanks to Andrew. I totally last minute, I was like, hey, can you do an interview? And this was about 2 weeks ago, and he was like, yeah, I'll do the interview. I just got back from tour. I'm totally exhausted, but I'll do it. And and we did it. The interview was cool. You just heard it, but then a bunch of stuff happened with me. So thanks for sticking all the way through this far. But yeah, I had a funeral for a family member. It was a opioid thing, and I wanted to talk about that and go into that, but I didn't really I didn't feel this was the proper time to do that, so I'm going to focus on that in another episode because, yeah, man, the opioid epidemic and the societal society is perpetuating this problem, and then we're always kind of confused. Oh, why is it such a bad problem? It's because people are profiting off of giving the people pills and heroin, and then the heroin, the prisons profit off of having people go in there, getting help, mental health treatment or getting some sort of rehab treatments if possible. But it's a whole box of just crap, and it sucks so bad that we put people through that, and then we have people dying because of it. So another day I want to go into it, but today I want to go. Thank you for coming this far on the podcast. We are now in open mics. Last call. So, oh man, it's been a long couple weeks, and so yeah, like I said, so I was off like 2 weeks or so, and it just feels like an eternity has gone by with Trump's tax plan that came out, and now he's over going in Asia. But the craziest thing, Donna Brazile put out a book, and in that book, it basically was talking about Hillary creating the DNC as like a slush fund, essentially. So, and not only did she basically turn the DNC into her own arm of her own campaign, and there's an actual contract to prove it that Robbie Mook, her campaign manager, signed. It was kind of like a slush fund that she would go on these campaign events, and it would be for the Hillary Victory Fund or Hillary for America. Those were the two ones. And people, her big donors, because all of her money was coming from big donor money, unlike Bernie Sanders, who his average donation was $27. She was getting big, large donations. So after they would tap out at $2,700, $2,000 something dollars, they would be able to go and donate to the DNC or the Hillary Victory Fund basically $10,000 per congressional or gubernatorial race. And there's, I believe it was about 33 or so, or 30 gubernatorial races or candidates that were signed up with the Hillary Victory Fund. So the people would be able to donate $10,000. So in total, it was $330,000 to $330,000 each individual could donate. It was millions of dollars that she got. And what would happen is, it's all good, right? It's totally good. No. Because once money would be deposited into these smaller elections in these smaller states, the money would be taken out and put it into Hillary's Victory Fund. And basically, 80 to 90% of all the money was taken out. So these little smaller states, they would have no money. And so Donna Brazile got wind of this, and she found out that all approval of anything that she needed to do had to go to Brooklyn and had to be approved by Hillary Clinton's campaign. And this actually, she was, dumbfounded, confused by this. Oh, so shocked, right? But it turns out that there's that actual contract that was signed 1 year before Hillary Clinton actually became the nominee. And this was 4 months after she declared her candidacy. And what happened, the backstory on it is Barack Obama, he used Organizing for America, which is kind of like a nonprofit, a wing. He used that a shell to collect money and as campaigning organization back in 2008. He didn't really use the DNC. And then in 2012, after he was already president, he didn't really have OFA, the Organization for America. He didn't really have that structure as well in place. So he used the DNC to be able to get elected in 2012, and basically left the DNC $24 million in debt, and that's when Hillary Clinton swooped in. But it even gets even crazier because, Tim Kaine, he was the head of the DNC. He stepped down. He appointed Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Debbie Wasserman Schultz was the one who oversaw signing this contract. Oh, and guess who became Hillary Clinton's VP? Tim Kaine. Basically payback to put in Debbie Wasserman Schultz. So it's so crooked and so corrupt. It's insane. But there's an actual contract that shows that, Hillary Clinton's campaign controlled the financial arm and the campaign and the strategy of the DNC. Basically, the DNC was just a shell for the Hillary campaign. And this is throughout the entire campaign. All the Clintonians were saying, oh, you Bernie people, you're crazy. The DNC is totally impartial, and that's what Debbie Wasserman Schultz said, and everyone was saying that, but it turns out that they were totally lying. WikiLeaks proved this, and then Debbie Wasserman Schultz lost her job. That's how Donna Brazile was ended up put in as interim DNC, chair. So this is all coming out. I mean, everyone knew this, and people were covering the Hillary Victory Fund like months and months ago. So this is nothing new, but it is awesome that it's actually coming out in mainstream news now that Donna Brazile has it in her book. So it's, it's huge, it's breaking. But what I'm thinking about is, where's the future? Like what I just talked Andrew about, none of that. This is all brand new. This didn't really break before then. So Hillary Clinton essentially still owns and controls the DNC, and the DNC is bankrupt, and they have no more donors because so many people left because it's so corrupt, and I don't think they're getting any more money. And Tom Perez is not doing a good job right now. He's the head of the DNC. He's not doing a good job at collecting more money. So the DNC is really hurting right now, and there's no direction that it's going in. And then this just bombshell coming out is just devastating. It really is devastating for the Democratic Party as a whole, and I'm really interested to see where it's gonna go. What, is it gonna adapt its message, or just keep going with Hillary and try to get some corporate Dems in there and then do some more campaigning? But here's the thing: this money would come in, and they've lost 1,000 seats. And so here's the thing. Today, there's an election in Virginia, and this is huge for the governor. So this is a huge, it's Terry McAuliffe. He was a Democrat. It's his old seat. It's neck and neck between the two, the Republican and the Democrat. And I think it's Gillespie. I think the Republican is actually going to pull out the win. And here's why, is because it really comes down to the Democrats have no core morals. They're not pushing for anything. The Republicans, whether you agree with it or you don't, I mean, they're pushing cutting taxes for the rich, getting rid of Obamacare, building a wall, making America great again, taking us back to the olden days. That's what they want. They know what they want, and they can get people riled up around that and go and vote. Democrats are like, oh, we support equality and gay marriage, and that's about it. Don't talk about, income disparity. Don't talk about, bailing out the big banks, or don't talk about the, how all the military industrial complex or the prisons and the police shootings, don't really talk about that, because, we'll pretend that we care about gun violence and gun laws, but we really don't. So we're really not going to pass anything unless it's more tax cuts and more wars. That's what the Democrats do, and people are realizing that. Democrats need to grow up, grow a spine, and actually fight for the middle class like they used to, or like they, say they do, which, they just don't. So once again, I've gone way over time. I didn't want it to go this long, but thanks if you did miss me. I don't know if anyone, were like, where did the podcast go? But yeah, we were gone for like 2 weeks, so that did suck. And I think over this holiday, Christmas, next couple months, I think I might do one every other week until the new year, and then get full swing in things and get back to the schedule where we're doing one a week. So yeah, So once again, it's been a wild year with this podcast, and we're kind of wrapping down the year with just Trumpster politics and in the podcast and all these new bands and just everything. It's been quite overwhelming, quite a lot of stuff going on. So yeah, I'm just kind of stopping to check out, to stop, sit back, look at the accomplishments, and say thank you for coming and listening and tweeting and sending me messages and everything. It's very much appreciated, and I hope you stay with the podcast for the rest of this year and up to the next year. So yeah, all right, well, we will check you out next week. Peace out. Thanks for checking out Punk Rock and Politics. If you enjoyed the show and the information brought to you, please subscribe and share the podcast. It helps us here at Punk Rock and Politics, but more importantly, it helps the featured bands gain exposure. Also, if you know any bands or musicians who would like to join the political mosh pit and have their music featured on the Punk Rock and Politics podcast, please email us at punkrockandpolitics@gmail.com. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time. And rock on, political junkies.
I think our society is run by insane people for insane objectives.
Doing a better job of talking to each other. The left hand now knows what the right hand is doing.
Look at those hands. Are they small hands? And he referred to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small. I guarantee you there's no problem. I guarantee it.